In 1925, an unexpected encounter at the Crystal Palace National Show sparked the origins of a remarkable avian legacy. Mr. Albert William Smith, the show manager, was approached by the esteemed Scottish crest fancier and renowned judge, Mr. John Macleay, who later on became the first president of the GFCC. Holding two of the tiniest crested canaries Mr. Smith had ever seen, John sought advice on what to do with these birds. Impressed by their beauty, Mr. Smith encouraged John to award them first and second prizes. Mr. Smith revealed that they belonged to Mrs. Rogerson, an exhibitor from Cheltenham. He introduced John Macleay to Mrs. Rogerson, as he believed they were witnesses to the birth of a new variety. John offered to support Mrs. Rogerson in any way possible, even volunteering to exhibit the birds on her behalf. Inspired by the district of Mrs. Rogerson's residence, Gloucestershire, Mr. Smith coined the name Gloucester Fancy Canary. He also compiled the very first standard of excellence, setting a benchmark for generations to come. In 1928, the world witnessed the grand debut of the Gloucester Canaries at the Crystal Palace exhibition. Though it took time, in 1930, the GFCC's determined secretary and treasurer convinced reputable shows to include Gloucester Fancy classes, even offering financial backing. With a handful of members sending show cages, the Gloucester Fancy Canary Club and this extraordinary variety soared to new heights and has never looked back since.
The Gloucester Fancy Canary originated, as the name suggests, Gloucestershire, England, Cheltenham, the town. We know the folklore of Mrs. Rogerson, A.W. Smith and John Macleay. Crystal Palace, two little birds with crests on their heads. That was the start. A slow start. It didn't really take off for a while. And then the sadness of war came along. That slowed everything down, obviously. And the kick-off after 1939 to 45, that was the slow time. We're now getting into the 50s and 60s. Big shows such as Derby, Worksop, London Charity Show, national shows, Edinburgh, Birmingham, successful shows in the Republic of Ireland in Dublin. In Northern Ireland, they had a national show at the Bally High School. In Ballymena, we had fanciers coming through the ranks. Jerry Wolfendale from Buckinghamshire. Jerry did so much for the fancy. He was the man who took the Gloucester Fancy from the United Kingdom around the world to America and Canada, South Africa, name a few. Today, everything seems to have leveled out a little bit now. The numbers have gone down. There's not the following as there was when I was a young man, but the hardcore of good fanciers, I believe, are still with us. I think that's pretty much sums it up.
The standard of excellence has existed for almost 100 years. It shows what clearly is expected from the breeders. The Gloucester Standard is a guideline, and just like every other standard of different breeds in pedigree livestock, it is constantly questioned, challenged, and sometimes even misinterpreted.
The Gloucester Fancy, a canary. One part of the breed has a crest, known as a corona. The other one is plain head, known as a consort. The subject with most creatures that we exhibit is a thing called the standard of excellence.
There is a bad tendency of clubs to promote their own standard on the base of the bird they are breeding. I think the country more closer to the standard is for sure UK. Secondary, I can record Malta, because many birds are coming from the UK, and the standard is very close to the UK birds.
Within the UK, there is a definite divide between Gloucester size of bird. Generally, in the north of England, they like to see a larger bird. In the southeast and the south of England, they generally like a smaller bird. Compared with other breeds, there's a more of a standardised size.
They're not supposed to be big, they're supposed to be to the diminutive. You don't see how big you can breed them, and they lie over the perch, jaunty in action. That's what the standard says. It's very, very straightforward. One perch to the other, moving about comfortably, everything under control, not flying around the cage like something crazy, jaunty in action.
As president of the North of Italy Gloucester Club, we try to go to the diminutive, because as I told before, we have only one standard: short, copy, good feather, good shape. This is the good mix.
There are those who still carry out this good procedure of jaunty in action to the diminutive. Long may it continue. We need these people for the future of the breed, the Gloucester Fancy Canary.
Surprisingly, very few countries adhere to the rules of the standard Gloucester cage. Other show organizers tend to eliminate the show cage under the excuse of modernization. Reasons for this range from lack of education to considering the cage as an extra expense. Keeping up cages like these can be costly, it's true, but if one looks after them properly and after the show immediately cleans them and puts them in a safe place away from damp and well stored, that shouldn't be much of a problem. The standard cage normally has 23 wire fronts, all bow bent at the top, with a hole in the middle that allows the bird to drink from the black decap drinker that hangs onto the front of the cage. The two perches are placed 4 wires away from the center, and this is exactly the measurement that allows the judge to look at the size of the bird more precisely.
The perches in a standard show cage will measure the Gloucester Fancy for you. Stands on one perch, it should miss the other perch. Okay, that's a bit extreme. It's been very hard to achieve it, but you have to go that way.
Rather than obstructing the view with a tubular drinker, like we see in many shows in Europe, it is suggested that the decap is placed in the front and you have a total full view, unobstructed, of the exhibit. Some exhibitors prefer to even leave the cup half full, just in case the birds want to drink. You know, some shows take hours, starting very early in the morning and finishing late in the afternoon, and you'd end up anyway giving small doses of water to the bird during the show as you go along. Now, why do I say half cup? Some believe that if you leave it full, it will wet the corona. This can happen, and then it will be harder for the judge to examine. Others just prefer to leave it empty. The fundamental measurements of the Gloucester cage are 12-inch in width, 4.5-inch in depth, and 10-inch high. And these dimensions are also important and can be followed in many publications that the council has produced in the past. There are even books and other publications that give the specific measurements, even showing the kidney-shaped hole here at the top, the size of it. This is very important because while the judge is handling the cages and even the steward, it helps a lot in handling gently and moving around cages, making it hard to either shake or drop. And as you can see on the side, we have the round door, which is hooked, used as an aperture to access the birds in the cage and get them out again. So always remember, the standard show cage plays a pivotal role in the evaluation of the exhibit and makes life easier with acting more with professionalism.
It was felt that there need to be some control board. I don't like the word control, but a board of fanciers to keep an eye on the well-being of the Gloucester Fancy Canary. As a result of this, I recall very, very well, the man I've mentioned earlier, Jerry Wolfendale and Cliff Harris, formed the Gloucester Canary Convention. fanciers from around the country, 20 or 30 of them, attended a meeting in the city of Oxford annually, and we discussed everything. The standard paint colour of show cages, placement of perches, classification of our birds, everything that relevant to the Gloucester Fancy and the progress of was dealt with by the convention. Sadly, after many years of putting many things correct, also the judges' rule, the novice rule, they were all part of what the convention did. Sadly, the convention failed after many years. Today, there are, I think, only about 2 members of the convention in the now, newly formed from 2009. There's only Jeff Cronkhorn and myself that are from convention over to council. The council, the Gloucester Fancy Canary Council UK, has now been going since 2009. We have an annual meeting. We hold it in Leicestershire in a very good venue. Probably about 21 or 2 or 3 good breeders, well-known breeders will come along to keep an eye on the progress of the Gloucester Fancy Canary. And that's where we are at today.
One of the major concerns of the council is the decline of the bird fancy in the UK. This issue has taken up a substantial amount of time during their recent meetings.
As I see the Gloucester Fancy and aviculture, it's in decline, it's in serious decline. I sadly see different organisations falling out and being divided. What nonsense. I can assure you in the last 12 months, another 4 or 5 Gloucester clubs have gone. All Gloucester specialist clubs. That's got to be serious. So we have to look at it. You have shown already this morning by the fact that you're here and travel from all over the place, you must have a genuine interest in what we're doing.
In contrast, the chairman states that there is a growing enthusiasm in allied countries, mainly Europe.
There's people from other societies who will tell you there's a big following from around the world. Countries that we know well, countries that we don't know so well. The one thing was damn sure about all this, they have a bigger entry than some of our shows over here. And they seem to be progressive. They seem to be wanting to achieve. And what I've seen when I've been abroad on occasions is young people as well. There's plenty of young fanciers in these different countries. We seem to be a lot of senior people getting about, including myself. You know, I just wonder where it is going to go. So it's very important, as I said earlier, that the organisations in whatever shape or form do now come together. Somebody along here said about we must come together. Stephen did, I remember. He's got it bang on right. But when will they ever learn? You as council members, that's why this piece of discussion is on, is because you're carrying the future. Steve Snell said to me not too long ago, he said, you know, Nick, that's Steve stand there, sitting there. We are only the custodians of this species of livestock. As fanciers and friends, let us not spoil it. What we've seen in the Gloucester Fancy from those 2 little birds in Crystal Palace 1930, what I have seen is, I've seen Derek and Margaret Moore from Redcar get Supreme Champion at the National Exhibition. I've seen Kevin Stokes from Scunthorpe do the same. I've seen birds in America and Canada, Best in Show, Gloucester Fancy Canary. Isn't that good? My own self, I'm privileged to have won the Nationals, a lot of them. I was asked the question, which is the most popular or the most pleasing you had? I said, I can't remember. I can. But today's winner, go forward. You need history for the future. You must have history for the future. Another thing while he's unfolding his arms, Keith Baker, Best Corona and Consort of the English National. Kevin Galvin did the same. Isn't that good? Best Corona, Best Consort of the National. I read his article the other day, not to embarrass him. That was a good. I hope you all read Keith Baker's article. No, I'm not sitting here praising Keith Baker. I'm telling him what he done. he was clever enough to win Best Corona and Consort and Best Gloss at the National Show. And wrote a damn good article 2 or 3 years later, whatever years it was. It was a good article.
Technical topics emerging from specialised affiliated clubs, such as the emergence of colour variations resulting from breeders' experimentation, can also occupy a substantial portion of time during the meeting.
You are not allowed to add to the classification. It was never passed by anybody, anywhere, at any time. That is why you have a council. That is why you have a football association, a lawn tennis association, and a government of the country. You mix them, you wish you hadn't. Mongrel factor comes instantly into it. 2 normal birds throw out a funny coloured canary. We should learn this. We breed cinnamon carriers, for Christ's sake. Don't anybody know what I'm talking about? That's what we mustn't do, trust me. We have bulldogs but can't breathe. We got cows that finished after 3 lactations. We get Alsatians with hip dysplasia. Man did that, and woman. She had a bit of that as well, because they're not livestock people. They do not understand. What is the matter with them? Is it all about a silly silver cup and a silly rosette? I've had hundreds. Most of you have had hundreds. Pedigree. Not mongrel bred, Mickey Mouse bred, monkey bred, all the usual terms, I know them. Do not do it.
Members from the club who breed these birds wrote into our AGM and said, could you put a couple of classes on? It was voted for by the members of the club and decided that yes, we can, to accommodate people. It's not going to be just a straightforward job.
Well, we'll make it straightforward. That's how it is. If you've got a fire, put it out.
The AGM, the members say yes, the members say no. I mean, the Kent doesn't have them, the Southern doesn't have them.
No.
Yeah, but the issue on the dial is that if you're anybody in this room or the panel of you that's got a call up to make, if you're going to follow standard classification, you have to adjudicate an old Gloucester or whatever it may be. And you have these extra classes, then you've got that, haven't you? What do? You say yes or you say no?
The problem is, Mr. Chairman, is it says, the gentleman says, he don't keep them because he don't understand them. And I would say that 90% of the people that keep them are in the same, although they've got them, they don't understand them.
The first one is the Stafford Canary. In 1986, people asked me would I help them create the Stafford Canary. Where I got involved was they invited me, thankfully, to help them create the show standard. And if you look at the Stafford Canary show standard, it is not a red Gloucester. And that was because I deliberately steered them away from it. So that's one thing. The object at the time was to create a red Gloucester. It is not a red Gloucester, as we all would have acknowledged. In 91, for the first time, the Stafford was at the old National, the proper National. The Stafford has a show standard. My suggestion is, I know the 10 people that currently have these coloured Gloucesters. They should form their own club and create their own show standard.
First thing we need to do, Mr. Chairman, is get the specialists, as we said before, get the specialist clubs to affiliate with the Gloucester Council. But at the moment, we've got no control. We can't instruct the specialist clubs that don't affiliate with the council not to put these classes on. We need to get them back on board and then try and educate them if that's what we want to do.
Details such as the traditional colour code of the Gloucester show cage is given significant importance.
So what I'm asking, if we can standardise the show cage colour as a worldwide recognised matching system. The one I'm recommending is the Pantone colour matching system. Pantone colour chart is vast. Mario and I have been in correspondence and we think we've identified the right Pantone code, which is 344 on there. So what I'm proposing that the Gloucester Council adopt that colour it's a good match to the existing breed colour, and that can be reproduced worldwide. That one's been painted recently. I think that's superior.
So you're gonna show it, don't they?
What we're looking at is 344, which is the top one.
This is all part of the GFCC's efforts to maintain a consistent and uniform standard on a global scale. The GFCC is extending an invitation for worldwide involvement, offering free affiliation. The primary aim of the Council is to bring together all Gloucester clubs, nurturing continuous education and ensuring the well-being of the Gloucester Fancy Canary. As the birthplace of the Gloucester Fancy Canary, the UK has given rise to a strong community of breeders. Since 1966, they have successfully upheld the largest global organisation for Gloucester Canaries, referred to as the International Gloucester Breeders Association. Boasting a membership exceeding 400 registered individuals and a diverse panel of judges, the IGBA commands attention from enthusiasts across the world.
I am chairman of the IGBA. I look after and guide and offer advice to our committee of 16. Our main role is to promote the breeding and exhibiting of Gloucester Canaries worldwide. The IGBA is the largest club in the world. We have lots of new initiatives on board. We have a brand new website, which is very informative. We have a yearbook comes out every year, a brand new version, full colour, lots of articles. We put on a large show every year. And again, the committee is committed to support the membership.
Well, I think there's so many opportunities and information available to either the club or the fancier. Worldwide information can be shared so much easier these days, and you can learn a lot from that website alone. And when I look at the Gloucester Fancy in general, is going through a very difficult time. The IGBA is making great strides trying to join people together and give opportunity to meet each other. So I'm very optimistic that the IGBA is one of the clubs going forward worldwide. So I'm just looking for opportunity for members to get together and share their experiences.
In the world of bird fanciers, maintaining a bird room is not just a chore, it's a vital practice that brings numerous benefits to both the birds and the bird keepers.
A typical day in a clean bird room should begin by changing the drinking water, ensuring a fresh and hygienic supply for the birds, following this by replacing the seed, whatever canary mix in that relative time is being used. We must remember that canaries are seed eaters mainly, although many other products and additives can be served with their nutrition during the year. With the nourishment taken care of, take some time to focus on cleaning. Cleanliness in your bird room is the key to a healthy stud of canaries in your shed. By cleaning and sanitizing the space, we create an environment that discourages the build-up of harmful agents, such as bacteria, viruses, and parasites. Birds are particularly sensitive to air pollutants. To avoid respiratory health problems in our birds, it is important to have a well-ventilated room. Since we spend a lot of time in our bird room observing and maintaining our canaries, any deviations from the norm, such as illness, feather picking, can be spotted easily in a clean environment. Having some extra clean perches on the side that can replace the soiled ones would be very handy. Over time, there will be the need to do more excessive cleaning, and this is very important. Depending on the number of cages you have in your room, the more often the bottom of the cage has to be thoroughly cleaned. Maintaining a clean bird room brings benefits to both the bird keeper and the birds themselves.
Breeding and showing canaries is a fascinating journey that requires careful preparation and attention to detail.
Before breeding season starts, it is important to make sure that all your birds are in the optimum breeding condition. Looking at your birds and observing them before you start pairing up and preparing for your breeding, it is very, very crucial, because this will determine the outcome at the end of your first round of clutch of eggs, and maybe even the second or third round. Part of the preparation to a good breeding season is the amount of exercise that the hens are given prior to this very delicate and stressful period. Now, if you don't have the space for an aviary, that's a disadvantage in itself already. But at least if you don't have an aviary, you should have a good sized breeding cage where the hens have their time to fly about and get ready for this very stressful period. Adjusting the diet of your canaries to include more greens for enhanced nutrition during this period will also help. Part of the preparations for breeding also entail trimming slightly the birds underneath. Now, there is no need to exaggerate. If the male has an excessive amount of feathers at the bottom, all you need to do is trim them lightly around and do the same to the hen on opposite ends. Pairing the right birds together plays also an important part towards having a successful result. The expectations depend all on this very delicate matter. For starters, a corona should always be crossed with a consort. Whether it's a hen or a cock, doesn't matter. Consort to consort is not acceptable. This will only destroy the corona gene pool. The same goes for crossing corona to corona. This is not viable. The importance of pairing complementary birds with compatible feather types and color is the key to breeding show potential exhibits. A beginner should always seek second-hand advice or a second opinion from an experienced breeder. This will ensure that your pairs are well matched. Adapting the breeding cage for the breeding season involves introducing nest boxes and creating an environment suitable to mating and raising hatchlings. Whether you opt for external or internal nest boxes, you must always prioritize the comfort of your breeding pairs. The presence of the male during the incubation period can be both beneficial and tricky at the same time. A good male can provide assistance to the hen even while raising her young. On the other hand, if the male is in overbreeding condition, it can be detrimental to the growth of the young and sometimes even prove fatal. This is why it is crucial to spend some time in your room observing your canaries. Like this, you will be able to spot an incident of this sort very easily.
To promote and breed pure Gloucesters, it's crucial to maintain a precise record of all the birds bred in your room. These records should be easy to follow and manage, yet also include enough information to ensure that all the necessary details are eligible for upcoming breeding seasons.
You can start by creating a cage card, which will be placed in the front of every breeding cage. The card should contain precise information about the parents, about the eggs laid, expectations of days when they are hatched, and other information which is relevant for a later stage to use in your breeding register. After the young birds have been raised, make sure, before separating them from the parents, that the ring numbers have been registered on this breeding card. This is important for future reference. Once the breeding card is complete and filled with all the relevant information, it's time to move that information into a breeding register. Some breeders use ready-made registers, which are either available online, and others create their own. All systems are good and doable if one can understand them and create that information for future to create new pedigrees. Once this is done, you can create a new breeding card and start the next batch. When a newcomer obtains his first pairings, it can be a little bit tricky to find the history of the birds. However, If you obtain your birds from a professional breeder, then the history and the pedigrees will be well kept and it could be passed on to the newcomer easily. Studying pedigrees for upcoming breeding seasons is crucial. This will eliminate the percentage of inbreeding, wrong mixture of feather, and help you also to trace where the right colors are, carriers, etc. etc. Generally, the incubation period takes between 13 to 14 days, and if you replace the eggs with dummy eggs during the laying process, all the eggs should hatch on the same day. When the eggs start to hatch, it is suggested that you don't start serving excessive soft food on the very first day. Talking about soft food, it is important to use a premium brand and prepare a good mix that can be processed by the hen and fed onto her hatchlings easily. Serving the young with a genuine mix by adding premium egg food will ensure a steady health growth. Broccoli, peas, and couscous are the most commonly used ingredients, along with the normal soft food mix. It is also advised to use supplements that can enhance the calcium levels during this delicate period. For instance, vitamins such as D3 play a very important role at maintaining a healthy skeletal structure. This is good for both the juveniles and the adults. It also promotes proper development of the muscular and the nervous system. Getting access to these supplements can be challenging for some countries, but here at least in Malta we are blessed. We've got online portals such as Zoo Pet Supplies, which have a range of supplements that can be accessed easily and even bought online, and they serve as the perfect agent for us during this delicate period. When hatchlings are a few days old, bending their legs helps with identification and the updating of pedigrees. Young birds are typically separated at around 23 to 25 days old. We have to ensure that they are independent at this point, already eating and fit to fly. A balanced diet and a good mix of vegetables also helps and contributes to a healthy growth of our youngsters. At this point, overcrowding should be avoided. When we put the young together, we tend to mix even the first batch with the second batch, which can prove critical, because obviously the older the bird gets, the more agile it becomes, and probably the dominance and their targets would be more easily captured if the young ones are put together with the older ones. So it is important that every batch that is separated from their parents is kept together and, if possible, not mixed with the new ones coming along. This will give ample time and chance for the younger birds to eat and get their fitness and their agility going.
Molting is the process of shedding old feathers and growing new ones. Gloucesters, like many other birds, undergo molting as a natural and necessary part of their life cycle. Over time, feathers become worn out and damaged due to exposure to the environment, friction, and other factors.
The biggest issue during the molt is the level of stress that the birds experience during this time. The feather glands need to be cleansed and they need to be tender so that to allow the new feathers to grow. This can only be obtained by continuously serving a lot of baths. Being able to tell whether your birds are going through a hard or a soft mold is easy, because this is usually visible. Many of you know that a hard molt, the bird loses most of its feathers and it looks almost bare, while a soft mold, the bird loses a little less and sometimes they just look a little bit ragged with a missing tail here and there. During the late stage of the molt, some breeders start picking birds that are showing show potential. And this is not recommended, because although the bird is almost finished, it is still experiencing a level of stress, and the last thing they want is to be moved about. Some of the feathers that are still coming out usually don't even show, especially underneath the breast area and at the back of the head. I stress this point because I witnessed at first hand, both during judging and exhibiting, breeders entering their canaries to the show, and they are not fully molted, especially the early shows. Now this probably comes either by lack of education or maybe an over-eagerness to take your canaries to the show bench to see where you stand. So please give them some time to be fully molted before moving your canaries around.
Show preparation begins weeks in advance, gradually exposing birds to the show environment. Well-trained birds are calm, responsive to judges' gestures, and present their best features.
As young birds mature, they should slowly be moved into single cages, especially those that are showing show potential. At this stage, your birds should be in the last phase towards adulthood. They should be feeding on a premium canary mix, as well as soft food. The canary mix should be enhanced with a mix of seeds that are very needed at this time. I assume that most breeders have access to the best brands on the market and that they have a more in-depth knowledge of what is needed by each and every bird they have in their room according to their situation and what's available on the market. Show team selection can be easy. It is evident that some birds show more beauty and finesse than others and will be closer to the standard of excellence. However, this is just the beginning. There is obviously a certain amount of time that a bird has to be show cage trained. The important thing is that the bird is introduced to the show cage 3 to 4 weeks before show date to give it ample of time to ambient and get used to it. Show training can also start when you start to compare your own birds and you are your own judge. So while doing this, and you are handling your canaries, there is already an amount of time that the bird will spend in the show cage while doing your comparisons and your self-judging. You can start by leaving your birds half an hour, maybe 3/4 of an hour on the first time, or even the second, and then build up gradually. During this period, you will find out while training your canaries that the birds are already sticking their heads out of the hole on the front and drinking from your drinker, the black D-cup drinker. This obviously happens if you have enough time to train your birds and time to observe them. By show day, your birds should be well trained, ready to respond to the judge's gestures, and fit to be examined, clean, and presented in a professional manner. The secret to a successful show is having a team of organizers who know their job and who know how to get it right. Normally, the biggest pressure falls onto the show secretary. The secretary, with the show team organizers, starts working towards show day months before, and they have important decisions to make. One of the biggest decisions is the choice of judge. You will find that most secretaries opt for an IGBA panel judge, rather than going for one who sits only on the panel of com. The choice of judge can take another twist when the secretary finds out that in the UK alone, there are over 70 panel judges. Even further, there are another 60 IGBA panel judges worldwide. The second biggest choice that a secretary has to get right is the choice of supplier for rosettes and awards. A beautiful set of rosettes will make all the difference on the day. He has to make sure that everything that has been ordered is correct, including titles, shapes, and different sizes. This is where the UK excels, thanks to Charles Allen of Birdbrook Rosettes. Having a company that never failed you with the choice of rosettes and awards is quite crucial. The club secretary is also responsible for preparing mail shots. Beforehand, a program is set and sent by mail, as well as an application bird entry form. The classification should be sent along with this mail shot. And it is important to say that classifications are set by the GFCC standard. Here it's important to note that we have over 9 colors split on 6 different categories, starting with the variegated buffs, moving on to the 3 parts dark, then to the yellows, which are also referred to as intensive. Then the cinnamons follow. We have the allied to white, blues, fawns, all put together in one class, and finally the grizzle. Some of these 6 categories are also split into cocks and hens, which already doubles the amount. Furthermore, they are also split into young birds, referred to as unflighted, and old birds, referred to technically as the flighted birds. Now, if you put all these together, we have 27 classes. In big shows, the 27 classes are doubled again into a novice section. Now the total amount goes up to 54. That is champion and novice. May I remind you that shows are organized to measure the progress of every exhibitor and allow them to realize and change what they need to add or take out from the stud of canaries. Everybody should work to the ultimate goal, which is breeding a winner that excels and is bred the standard of excellence. The organizing committee has to think ahead as well. A good hall for the venue is very crucial. Adequate parking has to be available, easy access to the show hall to bring the staging in and take it out again after dismantling the whole venue has to be thought about. The hall has to be spacious and it has to have adequate lighting. That will give the chance to the judges to have a good look at the exhibits while they are examining. The show is usually spread on 3 days. Obviously, the beginning would be the setting up of the show hall. Then following that is the bird entry. After the bird entry, there will be the judging phase.
I started judging in 2008. It was the North of England Gloucester show. I tried to do my best in order to respect the UK standards. So what I'm looking, it's a good balance between type and feather. I look the bird from the top in order to have the right position of the wing, dimension of shoulder, of the neck, and to see if the corona is a well-rounded one with only one center. And then the size, to have a look of the size, and then I started to see the bird from a lateral point of view to have a look of the shape. The bird should be tending to the diminutive, so if we compare 2 birds more or less with the same characteristics, the smaller bird will win.
After judging, the show will be open to the public, and on the final day, the ceremony of awards and the dismantling of the hall. During the awards presentation, there can only be one winner. After the results are out, every exhibitor should have enough time to diligently discuss winners and the runners-up with the judge. Some even might discuss between themselves. This is where education and open-mindedness should be at its peak. We have newcomers to the hobby who are eager to see why and how it happened why one bird was placed before the other. And we have the experienced breeder who can add on to the education given by the judge by discussing even further with these newcomers. This will eventually help the newcomers to see where they go next with the stud of canaries. This should be a day of celebration of all the hard work and dedication that every participant had during the year, working towards the special day. It should be a day that brings us all together at least once in a year to look at each other's teams and see how we've progressed and try to learn from each other. This is the whole idea. This is what the hobby is about.
Breeding and showing Gloucesters is a rewarding endeavour that demands careful planning, meticulous attention and a deep understanding of these delightful birds. By following these steps and embracing the challenges, you can create a vibrant and thriving stud of canaries that shine on the show bench and bring joy to enthusiasts around the world while making new friends.